Well, 2013 was a great year for Silicon Valley, and the Mecca of innovation hopes the good times will continue as companies sit on piles of cash and snap up fledgling startups for awe-inspiring valuations. In the midst of the euphoria, there are a few influential tech analysts who are urging caution. I caught up with the Chief Business Officer of Google, Nikesh Arora, to get a reality check. Take a listen. Let me start by asking you not about Google, but about what's happening as far as the industry is concerned. And I want to draw your attention to a debate that's taking place in the Valley, and on account of what David Einhorn of Green Capital Light has had to say on whether we're in the midst of a second tech bubble in the last 15 years or not. And he says what is uncertain is how much further the bubble can expand and what might pop it. Where do you stand on whether we are in the midst of a bubble or we're not?
Well, I don't know about valuations and bubbles, but I think it's fair to say we are in the midst of a phenomenal user revolution. I think the pace of innovation has never been faster. And part of the reason that the pace of innovation is fast is because for the first time, you have access to global platforms which are used by not millions but billions of people, which are consistent. So if you can develop something interesting which can sit on a smartphone, it's going to be used by hundreds of millions of people around the world. And there was no business possibility in the past that allowed you to do anything which you could scale so rapidly. So I think the pace of innovation, the ability for people to innovate, the amount of capital available for innovation, the amount of risk capital out there, definitely creates the opportunity for people to go out there.
But does it justify the valuations? $19 billion for WhatsApp, does it justify those kind of valuations? Because the debate once again is bordering on whether the balance sheets support these kind of valuations or not at this point in time.
Well, so yeah, that's the good news is that people like yourselves and financial types get to understand valuation. From my perspective, you know, getting user enthusiasm, getting lots of people to use certain services and get excited about them definitely has value. How much value ascribed to it depends also on your position and what you believe you can make out of something. So I suspect different people have different value for companies out there. But I'd say the user revolution is live, and it is going to continue. And I don't think that's about to stop. And I think a lot more money is going to go help, support, invest, and make those things happen.
You know, I want to take you through another debate that's raging on, and we're seeing pretty much everybody in the Valley at this point in time spending cash, picking up companies. Google has done that. There was a lot of talk on why you decided to dump Motorola after you just bought it. A $12.9 billion deal. You sold it for about $3 billion, a little under that. Is there a radical change as far as your strategy is concerned? What was the reason behind giving up on Motorola as quickly as you did?
Well, I think look, I'm very excited about what is going on with Motorola. Motorola has not had a success to the scale of its Razr as they've had recently with their Moto G products. So they've done really well. We took a business which was going through its trials and tribulations. We worked hard with the management team. We have a streamlined business which now is generating beautiful devices, lots of innovation with a small, lean team. And I think, you know, we've done a lot of hard work in the last 18 months. Yes, we did pay for that transaction. I think if you look at the estimates out there in the math, actually it didn't end up losing a lot of money for us. Any money, we actually think it was a great deal. We got a lot of patents in the process.
And the majority of them you continue to license out now to Lenovo.
Yes, we do, but I think it was important to make sure that we have patents because we are squarely in the mobility space and we intend to be there. So the patents are useful.
Do you acknowledge that maybe it was too deep into the hardware space? Because then how do you reconcile that with the acquisition of Nest Lab?
Well, I don't think it was too deep in the hardware space. I think what we did was we understand hardware really well. It was important for us, for our Android strategy, to make sure that the OEM ecosystem stays healthy, and there are many different producers of great hardware for Android devices. And I think Motorola is definitely in a much stronger place now than it was 18 months ago. I think they're going to have a fantastic future with Lenovo, which will strengthen both teams. So we're not unhappy with the transaction at all and what has happened with Motorola.
So what was the driver for giving it up?
I think what's interesting is if you think about the hardware space, the handset space, it is a category where there's a lot of innovation. There are a lot of different players out there. And I think what we're realizing, it's much more fun and interesting to innovate in a category that doesn't exist and try and build a brand new market than be in a market where there are a lot of players already.
Which is commoditized.
I don't think it's commoditized. Commoditized implies that there is no differentiation, but in our minds there's phenomenal differentiation between the OEMs and their hardware capabilities. And what is interesting is because of having multiple strong OEMs, the pace of innovation again in the hardware space, in the handset space, in the Android ecosystem is much faster.
What's exciting you in terms of the competitive landscape at this point in time? We've seen Facebook announce its results along with yours. Very good set of numbers. We've seen the WhatsApp acquisition go through. Who are you sort of seeing as your big competitor at this point in time?
Oh, I think our big competitor is out there in a garage with two guys sitting in a bunch of computers and trying to figure out how to change the world. If you go back and look at what's happened, it's always been those two people starting from scratch, innovating from the beginning and saying, let's just go change the world and make something else happen. And that's how Facebook came about. That's how WhatsApp came about. That's how Google came about. That's probably how Twitter came about. That's probably how YouTube came about. So I think history is littered with two entrepreneurs or one entrepreneur out there who's sitting there trying to think about changing the world. It's never the obvious big guys out there. And the obvious big guys have been around and they're sort of understood. They're sort of the 800-pound gorillas. We understand. We're one. We understand the pace of innovation. We understand the complexity and the chaos that one has to manage to keep growing at a certain pace, keep going out there and creating innovation, keep sort of introspecting to see how you can keep moving faster. But it's usually those guys who come out from left field radically trying to do something different that one should be worried about.
Well, that's Google's